so that you will elaborate your programming skills, as well as you can develop your projects, and as well you can implement this Python programming related to data science as well as artificial intelligence and machine learning. Okay, so when you want to fulfill this Pythoneer or Pythonista, you should know, along with the Python, you should know one of the basic cloud language, queries language like MySQL or SQL or Django. You should know some kind of web development also, so that you will justify the term called Pythonista or Pythoneer. And also you should know what is data science and also machine learning. Okay, so don't stop the learning while completing this program. Try to attend the next programs like data science and also machine learning. Those two courses also offered by our APSSDC. Try to utilize that also after completing this program, so that you will get full length of knowledge on Pythoneer or Pythonista. Okay, let's get started. How the Python and why the Python. So see, here are the answers why Python is popular. In the yesterday session, some people might ask me this question: why Python? If you have a Java, or if you have in your academics like C, Java, all these things, and why we are learning Python? So, so if you are background from CSE, you might get the answer like why Python, and I'm going to explain you why Python means. Basically, when you choose a best programming language, or when you want to learn some kind of programming language, you should know how it going to be executed, and how it is going to be understand by yourself, so that only will interested to learn that, right? So now if you use Python have some inbuilt modules and packages. Okay, so with that packages, the coding is very easy as compared to some other languages like Java, Perl, or C, and other. So that's why we can use Python as a most. So when you attending the interviews to the Python, they will ask you why you are using Python. If you have a C or Java, why you are using Python? Is there any difference? They will ask you like that. In such cases, you need to tell the answer like, not only like this, you can, if you are already well known about Python, you will tell the answers. But mostly why we are using Python nowadays means Python have inbuilt large kind of programming inbuilt packages and inbuilt libraries. So for that reason only we can choose the Python as a best programming language, so that we can use that inbuilt modules, we can use that inbuilt libraries to enhance our code, to run our code easily. Okay, that will helpful to reduce our lines of code. So if you have inbuilt libraries like that, you can write your logic with a less code. That's why we can mostly prefer Python as a very powerful programming language nowadays. And you can see the ranking of the Python when you use. So if you want to see how the Python takes which range, so if you want to know what is the rank for the Python, you can go to Naukri or some other free job alerts or something. Whatever the job profiles you have, there you can find out a ranks of the Python. So I'm just following the Naukri. So there you can find out in the Naukri also, in the home page, they will tell you that programming languages along with the rank. So there you can find out Python having 30 rank and Java having 17 rank. These ranks may be changed to the trending markets. Okay. So when I take the screenshot of it, there the Python have 30 range, 30 rank. And this rank may be increased due to the market technologies. Okay, and if when you learn this Python, you will get one kind of good opportunities to do a programming or to get a software IT role in such kind of criterions. Okay, now see why Python and what is Python. Okay, so Python is a high level and general purpose interpreter language. Okay, so Python is a language and it can be called as an interpreter. So the name itself, Python, called as an interpreter. So why we are calling this Python as an interpreter means, so whenever you do a programming in Python, it will runs the code line by line. Okay, it will runs the code line by line, and it will raises an error if they have a error in a particular line. Okay, so whenever you have a lines of code, then it going to be executed line by line, and if they found any kind of errors in a particular line, that will stop the execution at that line only. That is the purpose of interpreter. So now you will get one clarity like what is interpreter and what is compiler, right? So what is compiler? Let me know in the chat box. What is compiler? So you might see there is so many compilers from the first year onwards for final years. You can follow some kind of IDEs and softwares, right? There you can observe one kind of term like compiler. Okay, so what is compiler and what it does? Okay, compiler will compile the program. Okay, good. But what it actually done? Yeah, it will check the errors to know the errors. So the compiler will find out the errors and it will tells you that so compiler will execute entire programming and check for the errors. That's what the compiler do. Okay, and now you can able to find out the difference between interpreter and compiler. Interpreter means it will execute the code line by line. Whenever they found the errors, it will stop the execution at that particular line only. Okay, whenever the interpreter finds error, that particular line will stop. And if you take compiler, then so the compiler will execute the entire code once at a time, and it will shows the error wherever that line having errors. That is the main difference. And when you take this Python can called as an interpreter language. So that means the Python can execute line by line, and it will shows the output at the output window or output shell. Okay, and Python is a high level language. So high level language means what is high level language? Because all of them are engineering students, so you might know what is high level and general purpose and low level language. So basically from first year onwards, the programming faculties can train you like what is high level, general purpose and assembly language, all these, right? So let me know what is high level language. Yes, it is a user-friendly language so that the users can understand. When you write a coding, other than the machines, the humans also can be easily find out that readable by the users. Yes, all these answers are correct. So high-level language means the user understandable language. Okay, high level. So the Python can call this in a high-level general purpose language. That means everyone can understand when you see the Python code. It is in a user-friendly language. Okay. So that is the definition for Python. When you ask me what is Python means, Python is a high level general purpose language, interpreter language, and it can be developed by Guido van Rossum. Here is the developer. Here is the person, Guido van Rossum. And when now in the below cell, you can find out the history of Python. Okay, so Python is an interpreted high-level general-purpose language. Now, in the year of 1994, the Guido van Rossum is developed this Python, and in the 1994 we have only Python 1.0. So here you can find out the versions of Python. Okay, so V 1.0 means it is a Python version 1, and in the 2000 then the Python version 1 is updated with 2.0. Okay, and in the 2008 you can having the Python version as 3, and now in the 2021 we can update it the Python as 3.8 plus more 3.9. Nowadays we can in the 2021 the Python version is 3.9 mostly. Okay, so for this Python programming you can use any kind of tools like Jupyter or else IDEs or PyCharm, Spider, all the tools whatever you have you can use it, but mostly in this entire 18 days workshop we can prefer only Jupyter. Why we can prefer only Jupyter? Why not we can use IDLEs and Spider? You will let you know when the topics comes. I will tell you why we can use only Spider. And coming to so online tools, you can use Jupyter as an online tool or online. You can find out Python editors also online also. And so instead of that, you can use all this Python with the help of Google Collaborate. Okay, that will link with your Google account, so that there only you can run your Python files and it will automatically saved into your respected Gmail drives. Okay, I will tell you. And for this Jupyter, when you use Jupyter or Anaconda, you have to follow some kind of system requirements, like you need to follow Windows 10. Other than Windows 7, Windows 7 cannot support this Jupyter environment. You need to update your OS like Windows 10, then only it will support. For IDEs, it can support Windows 7 also, but mostly we can use Python, Jupyter for Python programming. And you can follow, you can find out a Python language properties. So it is everything is object. So the first point is everything is object. So the Python can called as an object oriented programming. Okay, so Python can called as an object oriented programming. So it can simply called as an OOPS, OOPS, object oriented programming language. So you should know what is this object and how can you create an object, and everything in the Python can called as an object. Okay, you should know how all this can be created when the topics comes, like we will discuss how to create objects in the Python. Okay, and now the second point is Python having modules and classes and functions. Okay, so Python having inbuilt modules and classes and functions, or else you can create your own modules as well, classes as well, and functions as well. Okay, and you should know how these modules are created, classes are created, functions are created in the entire Python workshop. Okay, we will let you know when it comes. And next, exception handling. This is also one of the most important property. So all these topics are very important, all these points are very important. Try to make a note, or else you can write down all these no, points in your Jupyter notebook. And I will update this PPT in the GitHub as well, so you don't need to worry. After completing the class, I will update this PPT in the GitHub, and I will provide the link in Telegram, or you can follow the GitHub link in your mails as well. We are already updated that GitHub link in your mail. Okay, so the third point is exception handling. So try and exceptions is very important when you use Python language, and most of the recruiters ask you about exception handling. If you are well at exception handlings, they will easily pick up for the Python developer or Pythonist or Pythonic. Okay, so this is simply like if and else, but there might is difference between if class and else class, as well as try class and exception class. Okay, this is the one of the major strong property for Python. And next one is dynamic typing and polymorphism. Okay, dynamic typing, you can type your data dynamically. Okay, that is the dynamic typing. And polymorphism, you will get to know what is polymorphism when the topic comes like coherence, in inherence, and all these topics are comes when you have a OOPS concept. Okay, I will discuss what is polymorphism and all these things when the topics comes. You will get to know all this by practicing, so that you will get more clarity. Okay, so Python supports polymorphism. This is also very important point. And static scoping, so every variable has some kind of scoping. So here you can use Python language property, like it can supports static scoping. And next one is operator overloading. So you can use inbuilt operators. So those operators you can overload it with another. That is the one of the property for Python. And Python can follow indentation. So indentation is nothing but space. So in the C language, you might follow some kind of colons or semicolons. With that only we can understand up to that semicolon, the code will be ended. But when you use Python, it will follow spaces. Okay, in your C language, how the semicolon works, like that only here the space will be work in Python. Here the space can called as an indentation. Okay, so you can tell that Python can follow a indentation, and Python is a indentation based programming. Okay, these are all the properties. Okay, and next, see what are the data types that we have in Python. Okay, these are all the data types that can supports by Python. So the first one is numbers, and next one is strings, and next one is inbuilt data structures and others. Let's see what are the number type of data types we have in Python. So in the numbers, you will get like integers, float, or complex. Okay, integers, float, or complex. Whenever the number having only integer, then that is related to integer data type. When the number having some floating point like point values, then that data should be comes under the floating data type. And you should know what is complex. I think you should know complex, right? So what are the examples for complex, and how can you tell that complex data? How it is defined, complex data? Let me know in the chat box. Yes, the complex number should be combination of real and imaginary, like I plus j combination. Okay, real number along with the j combination. Yes. So these are all comes under number data type. And next one is string. So string means it is a combination of data with having some quotes, single quotes or double quotes. You can define your strings with a combination of data with having some quotes on the top of it. Single quotes or double quotes. You can use single quote as well as double quote. And when you create a string, you cannot edit it. That is why strings is immutable. Okay, mutable means you can edit at any cost of time, and it is immutable. Strings is immutable. What it defines means once you define a string with double quotes, you cannot edit it. That is the purpose. And coming to, we have inbuilt coming to the inbuilt data structures, we have those are list, tuples, and set, and dictionaries and containers. Okay, so these are all the inbuilt data sets we have. And other we have like binary data, regular expressions, introspection, and inbuilt data type. Built-in data types also we have. Those built-in data types can be defined like with underscore, underscore, underscore. The built-in data types can starts with underscore, underscore. See, we cannot justify the size of numbers with up to the mark. We cannot tell that size of the numbers. So the number have doesn't size, only strings having the size. You should know when the practical, Lokesh. Okay, the numbers doesn't have size, but strings might have size. Based on length, we can calculate the size of the particular data type. Okay, next one is, so comparisons. So how the Python is differs from others language like Java and Parallels and C. Let's see, when you take the Java with respect to Python comparison, so it is typically 3 to 5 times shorter than equivalent Java programs. Okay, so it is equal to 3 to 5 times. Introspection means, so in the data types we have introspections. So these are all other data types. So binary means we have either 0, 1. Regular expressions means it is an inbuilt data type. So you can import it like import RE. Likewise, we have to import introspection inbuilt data type. So you will get more clarity when the practical when you do the programming practical, how this introscopic all this. So regular expressions means you need to import that regular expression inbuilt data type like import RE. Regular expression. RE stands for inbuilt data type of regular expressions in Python. So likewise, you can import it introscopic. So whenever you do a practical, okay. And we have some other inbuilt data types only, but for your reference, I am just mentioning a few like this binary and regular expressions. When you compare with C language, when you compare Python with Java, so it is 3 to 5 times shorter than equivalent to Java programs. That means the length of Python programming is less as compared to Java. So because we have a Python, we have inbuilt libraries so that we can reduce the lines of code. And runtime works harder than Java's. So runtime work is harder than Java. Java is also one kind of programming language. Okay, so the C, Perl, and Java, Python. These are all the programming language. You can do a coding or programming with this Java. Okay. So this is also one kind of programming. So I'm just explaining the differentiations as compared to Python with Java. Okay. These are all the comparisons. And when the components developed in Java combine to form applications in Python. So you can deploy this Python code into Java as well, so that you can develop some kind of applications. That means you can add this Python coding into Java as well to develop some kind of specific applications. And Python can also use it to prototype components into Java implementation. So these 3 and 4 points are similar one to another. With this Python, you can invoke this Python file into Java so that you can implement some kind of applications. And when you compare Python with Perl, Perl is also one kind of programming language. You can do a programming, you can do a coding with this Perl also. So these are all the differentiations. It is similar background, and Perl also following some kind of similar background as Python, and Python is more applicable than Perl. And these are all the remaining comparisons. So when you choose the Python, so where you use Perl, you can use anywhere. When you do a program, when you know a programming language, you can implement it anywhere. So, likewise, so if you know C and Python, if you are good at which one, then only you can pick up that good language to develop your applications, right? Likewise, whenever you have applications, you can develop a coding language with respect to any kind of programming, like Java or C or Python. So you can do any kind of so what you don't need to keep your mind with one programming language only. You can use a application or logic. You can use that logic with respect to specific syntax of that supported programming language. The logic is same at any algorithm. The logic is same for any condition, but the syntax for every programming language is different. When you take even or odd, that means you need to find out whether the number is uh, even or odd. In such cases, the logic is same. Like when if the number is divided by 2 and gives the remainder as 0, then that the number is even, and other than is odd. So likewise, the logic is same at any cost, but the programming syntax that can followed by different programs are different. There you can implement your languages. And coming to C, so we are already seeing when you develop a coding with respect to C, it is huge. When you use Python, it is less, because Python is a high level and it is very easy to develop, and it is shorter than C. And Python shines as a glue language used to combine components written in C++. So you can combine this C++ language in Python as well. Okay, so you can combine this Python language along with C as well as Java, so to do your applications. Okay, next you can see the features of Python here. Easy to learn, code and read. So you can easy to code it, and you can read it as well. And it is a free and open source, so you can download this Python on anyway in the Google itself. It is an open source, that's why you can easily download it. So that is why it can called as an open source, and it is free of cost. You don't need to pay anything while installing. That it means free, and it is a open source. That means it is available in Google itself or any respected browsers and in internet. And it is a high level programming language, and it can be portable and extensible. Portable means it can support with any kind of programming languages. Likewise, if you are the student from electronic department, if you want to do a programming Python and you want to embed that programming into your hardware, means you can use it, because the Python is portable. And you can add this Python coding into Java as well, C as well. We are already seeing the comparisons, right? So that is what the definition of portable. You can import this Python coding to other programming languages as well, and it is extensible. So you can extend this Python program. That is the one of the feature of the Python, and it is an interpreter. We are already discussed it. So interpreter means it will execute line by line. That is also one kind of feature, and it is a object oriented. So that means everything in the Python is object. So we can create a number of objects. So with the help of classes and modules or functions. And embeddable. We're already seen you can invoke this Python library with respect to Java or hardware components as well. And it can support a large range of libraries. We're already seen. So why we are using mainly Python means with these all features we can choose Python is the best programming language. Out of those we can find out one best feature is large range of libraries. It have large range of libraries, and it can support GUI programming. GUI means graphical user interface. So whenever you have a display like this, a desktop display like this, those displays can be called as a graphical user interface, and also it can support shell scripting. Like when you start your Jupyter server, it will start like a command prompt, a black color window. In that also the Python can be executed and dynamically typed. This is also one of the feature, dynamical typing. So you can type whatever you want dynamically. So it can support this feature also, dynamical typing. These are all the features of Python. So this is very important when you attend interviews to the as a fresher or experience. All these topics are asked by the interviewer, like what are the features and what is the difference between a Python to another programming languages, and what is Python and what is difference between object oriented or classes and modules, all these things. So try to make a note all these topics whatever I told you, and here you can find out what is the difference between high level and low level, and also assembly language. Okay, so high level means human understandable language. You can understand, every human can be understand when you see the coding. That is the purpose of high level language. And if you want to execute this human understandable language or high level language, you can use that codings as a compilers or interpreters. You can use softwares as compilers or interpreters. Okay, you can call this IDE as an interpreter, because IDE means integrated development environment. There also it can execute line by line. That can also you can call as an interpreter. So for running this high level languages, you need compilers or interpreters, so that it will converted a machine language after that, and it will automatically execute. And coming to assembly language, this assembly language can also called as an intermediate language or middle language. Okay, assembly language can also tell us what is GUI programming. GUI programming means it can support any kind of programming. Like see here, if you start your Jupyter, there also it will start a Jupyter notebook. There also you can do Python programming, and also you can start CMD, command prompt. So it will open like a black color window. So here also when you type Python, it will automatically enters a Python interpreter. It will automatically starts a Python interpreter. See, when I type Python here, when after opening my command prompt, it will open a black color window. And when I type Python, it will tells me like your Python is started and you can run whatever the commands you have. So now I can use some kind of a sample code like print of hi. So print of hi. When I run it, it will print hi as a output, because I'm using a Python programming language to print a hi. So likewise, the Python can support GUI programming. So you can use graphical user interface to do a programming like this. So you can use a command prompt to do Python programming, or else you can use IDEs or Jupyter notebooks or any kind of desktop version of icons as well. That is the purpose of GUI. Okay, black color command prompt, or else you can respected IDEs. That's what the GUI programming. Okay, and coming to human understandable language, high level, and there we can use compilers or interpreter. And coming to assembly language, it can called as an intermediate or middle language. So that means assembly language cannot be understandable easily, because it can be understandable humans a half only. So we can understand a half coding only because it is the assembly language, and so that half humans can be understandable, half machines can be understandable. So for this we have example interpreters, example softwares like embedded C. So this is embedded C can called as an assembly language or intermediate language. So there we cannot easily understand the entire coding. We can understand only half coding because it is an assembly language. So half of the coding only we can understand, the rest of can understand by machine. So for that we have here example, like for the embedded C example we have a one kind of example here. Assign a comma hash 10. What it means we can understand, assign a, we need to assign value of a. So we can understand assign a, that means we need to assign a value with a, but we cannot understand what is this hash refer because it is an assembly language. That can be takes care of the machine. Okay, so assign a can be easily understood by the humans, and the rest of hash cannot be understandable. What it refers means we cannot understand what is the process of that hash doing in the backend. So we cannot understand. That takes care of the machine, and it simply assigns this 10 value to the a. That is the purpose of example to the embedded C. There we cannot easily understand the programming. We can easily understand only half of the programming only. Likewise here also move 10 comma hash 10. That means we need to move this 10 value to 10. So this 10 value can be moved to the 10 value. That is the example to this embedded coding. And so for this we can understand how it's going to be executed. So here you can find out a flow of that output running for this assembly language. So first of all it will take assembly programming language and it will converts into a machine code. So in the embedded C for this 10 it will assign some kind of hexadecimal value like zeros and one. It will take zeros and ones only, binary values. So that is what machine code, right? Machine can understand only zeros one. So it will assign the zeros ones values of this 10. So if you are backgrounding from EC background, you will let you know this 10 value. So if you want to represent this 10 into 8421 format, you can represent this 10 value as 1010. So likewise, it will convert a machine code with respect to this 10 value like 1010, and it will convert that assembler. It will assign to the assembler like embedded C, Arduino, or rest of the tools. Whatever the tools we can use to do that coding, that will take care of this assembler. Next one is low level. Low level means only machines can understand. That programming languages can understand by machines only. We cannot understand. So you can see here the example is 0111. So machines can only understand zeros and ones only. That is the difference between high level and assembly and low level. Are you guys clear up to this? Let me know in the chat box. Okay, thank you. So now you got one clarity about what is the difference between high level and assembly and low level, right? Up to now, if you have any doubts, you can ask me. Up to this mark, if you have any doubts, is Python platform dependent? Pavni. I didn't get you. I didn't get your question. Is Python platform dependent? For Python, we can use several platforms like IDE, Jupyter, or PyCharm, Spider. All these can be called as a platforms. But what your question?
Excuse me, ma'am. Ma'am,
Yes, Pavani.
Java is platform independent language, right? We can run anywhere on the browser.
Yes.
So in the same way, I am asking, like, what is Python? Python is platform dependent or independent?
Python also you can runs in internet or anywhere. In online
Okay,
also we have so many editors.
okay, ma'am.
It is an independent because it doesn't have only one platform. It can support either Spider, PyCharm, or IDEs or Jupyter. So it is independent. And also you can use Google Colab that will execute in your internet. So
Okay,
it is
ma'am.
an
Thank
internet.
you.
Okay. Okay, when you open command prompt, try to pass Python means it will not getting means you are not adding Python as a environment variables path. So whenever you add Python path to environment variables, then only will appear that Python in your command prompt also. If you are not getting that means you are not adding the path of your Python to environment variables. So that's not mandatory now. So if you want to do that by command prompt also, you can go through Google. There you can observe Stack Overflow. There the persons who are already got this kind of problems, they replied you. So try to follow that. Otherwise, you can stay back in the meeting after 6. I will clarify your doubt. At the doubt session, you can ask me. I will explain you how to add the path. Okay. Okay, Mahalakshmi. And if you have any doubts up to this, you can ask me. Otherwise, I will continue the session. Okay, it seems nobody have any doubts. Okay, let's get continue the rest of slides. Okay, so the Python programming applications. So there you can find out the Python programming applications. See, not only these applications, we can use Python everywhere. Nowadays, Python is basic language. In the schools also, the Python is introduced to the childrens. So in the US or in our CBSE syllabus also, in the school management also, the Python is a base level language. So with that, we can develop so many applications. So here I listed a few applications with the help of the Python. Now you can find out artificial intelligence is one of the application, and machine learning, data analysis, and web development, and game development, and also embedded applications and scripting applications. So cybersecurity. So Python can use anyway. So not only a single applications, we can implement with this Python so many applications. Here I'm just listed a few. So okay, if I take artificial intelligence, so in the artificial intelligence, we have so many, like in the artificial intelligence. If you know about artificial intelligence, you will tell me one example. What is artificial intelligence, and where with other than what is artificial intelligence, you can tell me the examples where we can use artificial intelligence. One basic example: Alexa, smart speakers, robot. So robotics and Alexa, all these are IoTs. IoT, Google Assistant, Telsa, automatic driving cars. Yeah, automatic driving cars is one example for artificial intelligence. AI cams, yes. So in real life, we can use so many applications, but we are not knowing about this is application similar to artificial intelligence. So in mobiles, if whenever you do a whenever you want to do a kind of taking a picture into your mobiles, there you can observe one kind of box in your face, and that will prompts you like your age and gender also. Can anyone notice that while taking the pictures in your mobile phones? It will automatically prompts a box on your face, and that will suggest you the male or female as well as age also, right? So this is similar to a artificial intelligence example. And also it will suggest you when you taking a pictures with respect to things, like when you place the camera into your TV, it will notify you it is a electronic goods, a symbol, like it will notify a symbol on the top, electronic. And when you place a camera into a slippers and cloths, it will tells you like a symbol like slip clothing symbol. And when you place the camera into a greeneries like vegetables or leaves, then it will make a symbol like flower on the top. So up to now, if anyone observe, that's fine. If you are not observing, try to observe it. Those are all the applications related to artificial intelligence. like Google Lens also. Google Lens, when you take the picture and try to search with the Google Lens, it will shows the related that in your browsers. So like that. And coming to machine learning, so these are all the inbuilt parts of artificial intelligence. Okay, so these artificial intelligence is combination of AI is combination of machine learning and deep learning and data analysis. So it will whole combination of machine learning, deep learning, data analysis. When you finally justify artificial intelligence means internally they have machine learning and data analysis and deep learning, neural networks and image processing. So much of topics is you need to know when it comes to artificial intelligence. So after completing all those topics only, finally it will justify suggestions like that: a leaf or animal or human being or species, all those things like that. And coming to gaming development, so with the help of Python you can develop games as well, and embedded applications. So in kind of embedded applications also we can use this Python. So when you are from electronics background, you need to do a hardware connections along with the programming software. There you can embedded applications with this Python. So like when you use a Raspberry Pi or Arduino or some kind of hardware kits, you can use this Python language as a programming, and you can dump it that program into a respected hardware, and you can develop whatever the applications you want. And scripting applications. So like scripting means you need to know how to do a scripting like API scripting, resetting. All these are scripting applications. Okay. For every cloud they might have APIs, right? So you need to know how to do API resetting or scripting for that cloud. All these things comes under scripting applications. These are all the applications. Not only these, we have so many applications. So basically nowadays we can use these are all the most applications of Python. Next, let's get see how to install a respected software which can followed by entire this workshop. Okay, so for this workshop we can use Jupyter, but you can use rest of them also, like VS Code. Okay, Visual Studio. VS means Visual Studio and PyCharm. These are all the supported IDEs for Python. So IDE is nothing but integrated development environment. So basic version is IDLE. You can download it from www.python.org, and after that downloads. And we have some other IDs also, like Virtual Studio, Visual Studio, and PyCharm, Sublime Text, and Autumn Spider. So and Jupyter. So Jupyter Notebook, this can be defaultly installed from Anaconda distributions. So here is the link for to download that Anaconda. So the official website is www.anaconda.com. There you can use products. After that you can find out individual. Then you can choose your respected Windows version, and you can download it from with this link also. And next, if you don't have any kind of IDs and you need to use it online means, with the help of Google Cloud Service you can use it. So like you can use it like from Colab. So after signing into your Gmail, you need to type in your drive like collab.research. Then it will automatically open a inbuilt online tool with respect to your mail ID, and you can do your programming there, and it will automatically stores into your respected drives with notebook name. And also different online editors we have, not only Google Colab, we have different online editors with respect to Kaggle or default Python 3 online editor, and Azure also, Microsoft Azure notebooks also there. You can use it all these. And for this entire workshop we can use only Jupyter. Why we can use Jupyter and why not we can use all these means, Jupyter can have inbuilt libraries like NumPy, Pandas, and Matplotlib. At the ending of this course you need to use all these NumPy and Python, Pandas. So all those libraries are we have inbuiltly if you are using uh, Jupyter. But Python 3 or some others doesn't have all these inbuilt libraries. You need to import it by installing like pip space install space that particular library. and you need to get a API or link for to download that library. So to overcome that issues, we can use this notebook, and when you use Jupyter Notebook, it will like a kind of notebook file. It will support a text format as well as coding format. So simply you can download it with respect to coding as well as your text. So it will like your notebook file. So notebook might have coding, pictures, and also text. So notebook might have text and images and coding. So it's look like a notebook when you use Jupyter Notebook. That's why we can mostly prefer this Anaconda distributions Jupyter. And also it might have inbuilt libraries already. So we can simply use it. Other than importing, you can just import it and use it. And here is the some kind of links for Google Collaboratory, how to use Google Collaboratory, and there is a link to open that. So for this, you need to start your Gmail. So other than Gmail also you can use it, but it cannot store automatically. When you use Gmail to Google Collaboratory, that will automatically stores your mail. So better to sign in into your Gmail, and you can use this Google Collaboratory link so that it will automatically open with respect to your Gmail account. And these are all the some kind of short pre-requirements for that to install this all Anaconda. So let's see how to install your Anaconda. So we are already seen how to install your Anaconda in yesterday's session. So if you want to explain this installation of Anaconda again, you can tell me. Otherwise, I can skip this concept. I will share this PDF after the class. No need. Okay, I will skip it. So one person is asked me about explain. So I'm going to just give you an overview how to download it. It will take only 2 to 3 minutes. That's it. So first of all, you need to open your anaconda.com. So anaconda.com official website. So www.anaconda.com. So here you can able to find out a link, anaconda.com. After opening, it will open like this. After that, you just click on products. On the top, you will get options like products, pricing, solutions. In the products, you just click on products, and you can choose individual edition, and then it will automatically scroll it down, and it will ask you for the respected OS. So you just click on Windows OS with respect to 64-bit or 32-bit. Choose your respective bit, and it will automatically download it into your system. And after downloading, it will open to installation steps like this. So first step, you need to click on next, and then agree the license terms and conditions. Click on I agree, and then it will ask me to download this installation for just you or all users, like administrator permissions and for you only. So you just click on just me or else all users. That's not a problem. If your laptop having enough space, you can use all users. Otherwise, you can just click on just me, and then choose next click, and it will automatically install with a local directory like C program files, and then Anaconda. It will Anaconda 3. So after installation, it will automatically create a Anaconda 3 folder in C drive, because it is a default drive for us. So it will automatically create Anaconda 3 folder into C drive. And you don't need to click on register Anaconda path as default Python. So if you want to add your default path as Python, you can click on checkbox. Put a tick mark for this checkbox. Otherwise, it will not mandatory. If you want to add your path as a Python default path, you can add it. And then click on install. It will automatically install within 2 to 3 minutes. And finally, you just click on finish. That's it. This is about installation of Anaconda. And after installation, from the start menu, you just click on Jupyter or Anaconda, and it will automatically redirects to the Anaconda homepage. There itself, you can start Jupyter, or else you can start Jupyter from your start menu only. Okay, this is the process of your installation of your Anaconda. So in yesterday, we are already installing this Anaconda. That's why I'm just explaining it. Who wants me to explain? I will share this PPT after completion the class. Don't mind. Okay, let's get started. All this, how it is working with Python and all this. So all of you start your Jupyters. I'm just from your Windows start menu, type Jupyter. From your Windows start menu, type Jupyter and hit enter. When you type Jupyter and it will start a black command prompt like this. That means it will start a Jupyter server internally like this, and it will open with your default browser. Okay, so it will starts in your default browser like this, and it will starts with the default directory as C, because we have a root directory as C only in any systems for Windows. So after that, you just go through your directory. So in the yesterday class, all of them are created a folders, right? So try to open that folder from here. See, everyone need to follow my instructions. You need to do parallelly along with me. So start your Jupyters. After starting, so try to click on desktop. So when you click in the desktop, you need to click on the desktop, not this folder icon or checkbox, all this. Okay, try to click on desktop. Okay, if you are not created the folder also, no problem. I will explain how to create it. Who already created the folder inside the desktop, that's okay. Otherwise, I will explain how to create a folder also, no problem. After opening your desktop, in the right side, you will get options like upload and new, right? So in the new or left side, there is a drop down arrow. So click on the drop down arrow. There you can observe options like Python 3, text file, folder, and terminal. Okay. Who are not created the folders, try to follow the instructions. Okay. After clicking in the right side, you will observe one kind of icon like new drop down menu. Click on new and then choose folder. Okay. And then choose folder. So it will automatically create a one untitled folder. Just drop down your drop down in your arrow. Here I can find out one untitled folder a seconds ago. You can observe the timing also. When you click on new untitled folder, it will automatically create an untitled folder a seconds ago. So we need to rename it. For that, you just click on the checkbox, put a tick mark on the checkbox. You need to select this untitled folder once. After selecting this untitled folder, on the top you will get options like rename or delete. Rename or delete, right? Rename, move, or delete option like this. So we need to rename this untitled folder. So just click on rename. See, better to use Jupyter because IDLE doesn't have inbuilt libraries. For next upcoming classes, we need to use large size of libraries. Those libraries doesn't have IDLEs. In the IDLE, we don't have that inbuilt libraries. So try to use this Jupyter only. So after selecting this untitled folder, click on rename. After selecting this untitled folder, click on rename, and you can create your name. You can create your directory name. You can create any kind of name for your folder. I'm just passing a name as APSSDC1.
Hello,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yes,
Ma'am,
Pavan.
is Jupyter is mandatory, ma'am?
I'm already telling you Jupyter is mandatory because Jupyter might have inbuilt libraries already. So in next classes, from the second week to third week, you need to use that inbuilt libraries. That's why we need to use Jupyter only, because IDLE and some other IDEs doesn't have these inbuilt libraries. Okay.
Madam, we can use in Google Colab, right, ma'am?
Yes, if you have inbuilt. So for this Google Colab, you need to maintain a good internet connectivity anytime. But if when you use Jupyter, it will not take a internet. It will runs automatically in offline. So if you
Okay,
find this
ma'am.
Google Colab, you can use it. Otherwise, so we can use Jupyter only because it doesn't take internet. Okay. After
Okay, ma'am.
creating a folder, just click on rename. So it will automatically create a folder like this. See, I'm already creating a folder. So I'm going to open it. So my folder name is APSSBC Online Classes 2021. So after creating a folder, you just click on this folder. Okay. After creating a folder, open it, and you will get like this. Inside the folder, we don't have any kind of files. So now you can create again a folder, because for every day you need to maintain a folder so that it is very organized. So after the class also you can refer with respect to the day as well date. So for that organizing purpose only, inside the folder again you need to create a folder for everyday class. Is it fine for you? Creating a folder for everyday class is fine for you, so that the files is organized. From the second week onwards, we need to take some other external files. So for that, better to create a folder for everyday class. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's create a folder. So how to create a folder? Again, choose new. There you can choose folder. It will automatically create an untitled folder. So try to rename it, selecting it and click on rename. And here you can pass day 1. So it is a day 2. Day 2, right? We have already completed one day. Day 2 hyphen. You can mention your date, today's date or topic date. So here I'm mentioning today's date as, so today's date as 18/5, 18/5/2021. Okay. As well as you can mention the topic name also. I'm just mentioning. Along with the hyphens, you can mention your names. Python basics. Python. Python basics is today's topic. Try to rename it. Okay. So I'm already creating a folder for the classes. I'm going to open it. Okay, I'm opening like this. Now here I'm going to create a new folder for today's date. So here I'm going to rename it. Day 2. Day 2. 18. Okay, after creating the folder, try to open this folder. And here you need to start your Python 3. So after creating a folder, open that folder, and after opening the folder, in the again take a new, there you can start Python 3 here. Okay, what should you do means just click on new and then choose Python 3. Click on new and then choose Python 3. And it will open a file like this. A Jupyter file, a Jupyter notebook like this. Is everyone completed up to this? Okay, someone asked me doubt for mobile users. In the mobile also, if you are using to do a programming means, what is the app you are using to do this Python programming in mobile? Android 3. Okay. Okay, I will give you a presenter who are using mobiles so that I can explain. After installing Anaconda, try to open Jupyter from your start menu and try to create a folder. Okay. Harshavardhan Reddy, I will give you presenter so that I can see your screen from your mobile, and I explain how to start all these steps in your mobile. Is that okay, Harshavardhan Reddy? I will give you presenter if you are okay with that. I'm not getting responses. So who are ready to share your screens for mobile users? Respond me in the chat box. I will give you presenter. Okay. Jeevan Prakash. I will make you as presenter. So try to share your screen. You will get one notification like, yeah, I can able to see your screen. Okay, open Pydroid 3 app. So it is like simply Python coding. Try to pass print of hello. Type print hello in the double quotes. Open parenthesis. Yes, double quotes hello. And in the bottom, you can observe one kind of run symbol, right? So click on that once. Yeah, now you can get. So in the mobile users, see, you don't have to, you don't need to create a folders. You just create a directly coding, or else come back one step, click back button one. On the top, you can observe folder symbol, right? After new in the right side. So click on folder symbol once. It will create, click on new once, plus. So it's like a new file, not a folder, right? Yes. So for the mobile users, you don't have to follow all this creating a folders process. You just click, type your coding and just run it. That's it. You don't have any options. Okay. Like this, you can run your coding. So you don't have all these options like creating a folder and all this. Okay. That is the process. Who are following the class in mobile, try to run your code like this. You don't need to create a folders and all these steps. When it comes to programming, you can do it like this. Okay, is that clear to mobile users? Like this, you can do a coding. Okay, I'm take back presenter to me. Okay, someone asked me like I cannot able to find out desktop. Who is that? Nagalakshmi. So Nagalakshmi, I will give you presenter. Can you share your screen? Are you ready with that? So that I can find your problem. Respond me.
Ma'am, actually I'm
Yes,
following the
tell me.
session in mobile.
Okay.
I'm working on the laptop. So how can I share my screen?
So in that
Actually,
cases,
desktop folder is not finding, but otherwise I create the folder also. I'm doing it. but not in the
Okay, you
desktop.
cannot find out the desktop, but you cannot find
Yeah.
out the desktop, but you can find out your folder.
Yes, yes, yes.
So that's not a problem. So first of all, you need to follow the class. After that, after the doubt session, after the class, we will come to you. Okay.
Okay, okay, fine, ma'am. Yeah, okay, fine, ma'am.
So if you are following the class other than the desktop path also, that's fine. So you are unable to create a folder and you cannot able to open that folder and starting this Python file is difficult means let me know so that I can come to you and I will see your screen. Otherwise you are well in creating the folder and starting this file like this means that's fine. We will see the problem at the end of the session. Okay. So let's continue the session. Okay, for this yesterday we are already seen the why we are using Jupyter means. So Jupyter can act like as a literate programming. So Pavani ma'am or Surya sir, are you there in the meeting? Okay, Krishna Reddy Gundu. So Vamsi Krishna Reddy. First of all, you need to rename your name because you need to specify your name like name, roll number, and then college name. Try to edit your info, and after downloading the Jupyter, try to install it, and try to open that from your start menu. Okay. If the problem is still persist, I will come to you at the end of the session. Yeah, I'm coming to explain you literate programming. So literate programming means you can do your coding and you can prepare a documentation as well with same platform. Okay, preparing documentation, preparing document and do coding meanwhile. Okay, literate programming means you can do your coding as well. You can download this entire coding as a document, or else you can do some kind of text, or you can pass your text in between the cells also. That is what the literate programming. So Jupyter is like literate programming. So that means you can pass your text. Okay, you can do prepare the document and do coding meanwhile. That is what the literate programming. And if you want to convert this cell into Markdown, you can use escape M as a shortcut so that the shell will be converted like as a Markdown format and you can run it. So like you can observe the first literate programming is like a heading and this is the following description about that literate programming. Likewise, you can mention your data like Markdown as well as you can write your coding with kind of coding by selecting code or else you can convert the shortcut like escape Y, so that the shell will be converted to coding. And you should know some of the markdown syntaxes. So we can follow. Let's make a heading like markdown syntaxes, markdown shortcuts. So for that, the first one is, if you want to make a heading as bold, how to pass the bold and how to pass italic, all this one. Let's make it. So first of all, when you want to make a headings, you need to pass hashes. It will support single hash to 6 hashes. Okay, hash will be supports from single to 6 hashes. So I just want to make second heading. For that, I'm just passing 2 hashes. After that, there is a space. Okay, after passing the hashes, you need to pass space. Okay, and try to convert this cell into a markdown. To convert the cell into a markdown, you need to pass the shortcut like escape M, so that the shell will be converted as a markdown. Otherwise, you can select the cell, and you can select markdown as a syntax, so that the shell will be highlighted like as a markdown format. Now you can make the heading like so. If you want to assign your text as a bold, you can pass 2 stars, like 2 stars, and you can mention anything, python coding. You can pass any kind of random text. Okay, like this you can pass your data as a bold in markdown syntax. And if you want to make your data as italic format, you can use 2 underscores. There is a 2 underscores, and here also I'm passing python. So there is a only single underscore. So now you can find out this text will be converted like as a italic format. And also you can make the data as bold and italic. If you want to make your text as a bold and italic, you need to pass single star and single underscore and then any random text. So it's not highlighted as a bold, so that you can pass 2 stars and 2 underscores. Okay, so that the text will be highlighted like bold and italic. Okay, like this you can pass your data. So if you want to highlight the text as a bold, you can use 2 stars or single star, or you can use, see, by single star also you can generate bold text. For using single star, you will get italic. If I use single underscore, also you will get italic. So these are all the alternate syntaxes. Okay, like this you can pass your syntaxes. After writing the code, you just run the cells. Okay, for running the cell, you can pass shift enter. For running the cell, you can select the cell and pass the shortcuts like shift enter. So then you can observe all this Python code, and the rest of syntaxes like hashes and stars will not be displayed. Only output is displayed like bold and italic or headings like this. So now you can observe, if you want to make a text, you can pass Python coding as double stars, and if you want to make a text as italic, you can use single star or single underscore or single star along with double underscores. And if you want to make a text as bold and italic, you can use single star double underscore. So these are all the syntaxes. So for these markdown syntaxes, we have some cheat sheet. So you can observe that cheat sheet. So for that, I'm just open the browser and type markdown cheat sheet. So it will open like this. There you can observe every official website like markdownguide.org. Okay, markdownguide.org. Try to open it. Okay, try to open it, markdownguide.org. There you can observe. So the basic syntaxes, like if you want to make a headings, and if you want to make a text as bold and highlighted as a italic. So these are all the syntaxes. For making the text as heading, you can pass hashes. For making text as bold, you can use double stars. Or for making italic, you can use single star or single underscore. And bold and italic combinations, you can use stars, underscores together. So, and let's see how to pass block codes and all those. Is it clear up to this? So after typing this, you just run the cells by clicking on this run symbol, or else you can pass shift enter from your keyboard. If you have any doubts up to this, you can ask me. So what is the use of this one? That means so it is like comments, or you can mention whatever you want. So in your classwork, you need to make a notes, right? Instead of coding, you if you want to make a questions along with, like, I need to know what is the number in between. I need to know what are the numbers or even numbers from 1 to 10. In such cases, I can make a heading like write a coding for numbers between 1 to 10 as a even numbers like this, and below I can write my coding with function sum, def, and all these things. To specify that coding, we can do some kind of comment lines, right? So instead of that, we can make a markdown text like this, like heading and then corresponding syntaxes. And whatever we want to add a description, that descriptions can be defined with these syntaxes, followed by these syntaxes. That is the purpose. We have to know how the markdown can take place in Jupyter. Okay, these are all the shortcuts to make a heading like hash and to make a text as bold. So this markdown can helpful to develop your technical documentation. So when you want to do a project, you need to follow some kind of documentations, right? So for the technical documentations, most of the market strategies are in the format of markdown. So like when you use GitHub, there so many documentations is available, that all documentations are in the extension of .md. Nothing but it is a markdown file, markdown extension. .md means markdown extension. So if you are well known about how the markdown executed, you can use it with reference that markdown file. So you just click on edit that MD file. You can observe what are the inbuilt shortcuts that can be involved while developing that MD file. So that you should know how to follow markdown syntaxes, and you will get to know when to use and how to use all this one. After writing it, just shift run it. And let's see how to import a coding or how to import images, because literate programming means it is a combination of so it might have documentation, it might have images, it might have tables, and also it might have coding. So all these combinations can be understood by users easily. So if you have only coding in your notebook means you cannot figure it out what it stands. So if you have documentation or if you have description about the coding in the below or on the op, you will get one clarity like this coding is similar to this description. Like this purpose, we can use this markdown as a formats to define that codings. Okay, let's see how to import images and how to insert a URLs also. Okay, so for that I'm just making a heading like importing. Before that, let's make a markdown shortcuts. So the first one is escape M to convert shell into markdown. To convert shell into markdown, the next shortcut is escape Y to convert shell into code. It is not shell, it's cell. And next one is if you want to run your cells, you can use shift plus enter to run code cell, to run cells, any of this. And if you want to assign a numbers your cells, you can use escape L to toggle the numbers, line numbers. Okay, these are all the shortcuts. So escape M means to convert the cell into a markdown format, and escape Y is for to convert the cell into code, and shift enter is for to run your cells, and escape L is to assign a line numbering. So I'm already selecting that, that's why I'm getting these numbers. So if you want to get these numbers for every line, you can use escape L by selecting the cell so that it will assign a numbers. Okay, I need to convert the cell into a markdown because it is defaultly in the code format. I can use escape M so that it will convert into a markdown and I can run it. So these are all the shortcuts. Now let's see how to import, including inserting images. So if you want to remove that, again just click on escape L. Is that working? Escape L. It will be removed. If you want to remove that numbers, again click escape L from your keyboard so it can remove. Again escape L, it will assign the numbers. 2 lines. Inserting images and inserting URLs. So for inserting images, okay, let's make the heading for individual. For inserting images, you need to follow the syntax like this is a kind of notation. It's not followed the syntax. Let's delete it. For that, syntax is exclamatory mark followed by curly bracket, and then you need to open parenthesis. So in the square bracket, you need to mention description of the name of the image. So on which name you need to define it, you can pass it name of the image. And here you can pass the URL of image. You can pass the URL of image. Okay, this is a syntax. Now let's see how to insert this image. So I'm just passing my image name as image only. You can pass any name, but the description is mandatory. And here you need to pass the URL of image. So for that I'm going to take one random image from the Google and I'm going to insert that URL of image here. Okay. So let's open browser and try to search the image. I'm just passing images here. Let's take the images. Okay. Python images. Oh, it gives me snake images. Okay. So after selecting the image, just right click on the image and copy the image link, copy image address. So by right clicking the image, try to selecting copy image address and try to paste that image address in the parenthesis. By passing double quotes, I try to convert the cell into markdown and try to run it. It will not display it. So we don't need to pass this. Yeah. Okay. So for this, okay. So the syntax is you can mention any kind of name to describe that image, and then here in the parenthesis you need to pass the image URL. So how can you select that URL? Means open the image what you want to place it here and right click on the image and copy the image address. Copy image address and paste it in the parenthesis and convert the cell into markdown and try to run it. Then you will get a image is inserted like this. So it is a huge image. So if you want to reduce the width, we have another options to reduce it. So now you need to follow the syntax like this. So exclamatory mark, image. So you can pass any kind of name here. Not only this, you can pass any name. So that name will point out the particular image link. That's it. There is no another thing that happened. Okay. The name is description name is mandatory, and in the parenthesis you can mention the URL and try to convert this cell into a markdown and try to run it. Did you all get the image? So if your image is not displayed, means try to see the syntax once. Exclamatory mark, and in the square bracket you can mention any name, and in the parenthesis you can pass the URL. So if the URL is correct, that then you will get, otherwise it will not displayed. So it will display like a kind of picture image. It will not display the image. It just display the picture like green color. That's it. Yes, you can insert the images if you have in the system also. In such cases, you need to specify the path here. Whatever the image path you have in your system, you can mention that path here, like C slash your desktop slash your uh, image name. Okay, after passing this syntax, try to convert this cell into a markdown like escape yum and try to run it. Image is not recognized as an internal exploding. So here, who is this person? Venkateshwar Rao. That means here you need to, you can take the name as image, right? And before that there is an exclamatory mark. Just follow it. It is an exclamatory mark. In your keyboard on the top of one, you will get that exclamatory mark. And you can mention any name other than image also. And after that, in the parenthesis, you have to pass your image URL correctly. how to select this image URL means open the image and try to right click on it and choose copy address only, not not save link as copy link address. That doesn't work here. So it will work for only copy image address. So try to take this copy image address only. After right clicking on the image, you need to take copy image address so that you will get image in the Jupyter notebook. Okay. Yes. So here, when you run the cell, you will get image like hues. So we need to reduce the size. After square brackets, we have to mention full stop. You don't need to mention any full stop. See, there is no syntaxes. Just to see, we have only exclamatory mark, square bracket, parenthesis. In the square bracket, you can mention the name, and in the parenthesis, you can mention the URL of the image. Okay, we don't have any dots or anything in between. When you type it, it will display it like this. There is a dots. So, but that doesn't look like. For mobile users. So for mobile users, it will take only coding only. It doesn't have Markdown or any other tools. So when it comes to coding only, you can follow it. So better to take laptop to do all these things. Otherwise, for mobile users also, try to use Google Collaboratory. There you can use Markdown files. There you can run Markdown cells as well as coding cells. So instead of using Pythroid app in your mobile, try to use Google Collaboratory. So it will redirectly to your Gmail account. So it will work fine for Markdown codings also. Okay. So here the inserting images is followed the syntax like exclamatory mark. So you can follow the guidelines here in the Markdown sheet also. There you can observe inserting URLs for inserting your image. This is the syntax like exclamatory mark in the square bracket. There is a random text and after the image link. Whatever the image you have, the link you can paste it here. Okay, like this you can inserting the images. And if you want to reduce the size of the image, you need to follow the syntax uh, like uh, you need to open angular braces. So in between you need to type image src equals to. So image src is nothing but it is a kind of image source reference where the image can exist, that can be called as a source reference. Image src equals to, you need to mention your image location. Whatever the copied URL whatever you copied the link address for the image, you can paste it here. And then you can mention space width colon. You can mention your how much pixel do you want to get px and try to run it. So for 100 pixels also we are getting same. We are getting two images. That means for the first one we are getting this one. After image, by using image src also you will getting. So for editing, just click on this cell again. So I need to get only 10 pixels. So it will not change. The size is not changed. Image src equals to HTTPS. We can mention the entire. Let's specify the comma here. So this is not the correct syntax. That's why we are not getting reduced image size. Okay, I will explain the doubts as well. So, what are the class timings for us? Class timings. It is up to 7 or 6:30 only.
7, ma'am.
7, ma'am.
7. Okay. That means we need to continue the session up to 6:30. No problem.
From 4:30 to 6:30, last half an hour for doubts.
Okay. Thank you. Someone asked me about directly from English. Aditya Vardhan. How can you do that, Aditya? So instead of getting 2 images, we can reduce it by passing the width here. You can send your coding in the chat box. Aditya.
Ma'am, I'm doing from mobile, ma'am.
Okay. From mobile also you can send it, right? In the chat box you can send it. Yes, also equals to colon not. Yeah, we can reduce it like this. See, when I make a pixel size as 10, I'm getting only small picture. So if I make 100, now I'm getting like this. So that you can reduce this width of this image also. So when you get the image from Google itself or like this by syntax uh, uh, like this, you will get entire length of the image. But if you want to reduce it, you can use images as a syntax by passing the width parameter like this. So here you can pass all these things entire in the string like double quotes starting and ending, and also you can mention double quotes while starting the URL and ending the URL. Okay, and after that you can mention width equals to, along with the quotes you can mention how much pixel you want to assign as a width. I'm passing 100 pixels, so I can get the picture with 100 pixels only as a width. Like this, you can reduce your image size as well. How many of you getting this?
Ma'am, please repeat that, ma'am. Inserting images concept.
Okay. So for inserting images, you need to follow the syntax like exclamatory mark and then name of the image. Whatever you want to assign the image name, you can assign it in the square bracket and URL of the image with parentheses. So likewise, you can, I'm just passing exclamatory mark and then I can assign the name as image and I can mention my image URL in the parentheses like this. So when I run it, I can get the image like this. So the first image I'm getting with a huge image with that corresponding syntax, but I need to reduce it. So for that I can use a syntax like this. While in the double quotes, I'm passing image src. Src reference that particular image source location. Okay. So in that image src, I'm passing in the double quotes. I'm passing whatever the URL here I'm passing. That URL only I'm mentioning here in the double quotes. And finally, I need to reduce this image. So I can use width parameter. So width corresponding equal to how many pixels you want to pass as a width, you can pass it. Like I'm passing width as only 100 pixels. So I'm going to reduce my entire image into width of 100 pixels only. Now I can run it. So I'm getting an image with having only 100 pixels. Okay. So like this, you can insert your images. Okay, who are having problem to inserting these images, we will come to you at the end of the meeting after 6:30. Please stay back in the meeting. I am going to continue the session. Okay, who are not getting and who are having problem with inserting images, I will come to you after 6:30. Okay, let's continue. The next one is inserting URLs. Inserting URLs. So for this, we have to follow your syntax like, so you just follow all the syntaxes from Markdown cheat sheet only. Okay, for inserting links or URLs, you can follow the syntax like curly brace and then URL means links. Links, whatever the links we have, if you want to insert that links, you can use curly brace and then parenthesis. Let's see how to insert the URLs also. So for that, the syntax is square bracket and then parenthesis. In the square bracket, you can mention URL name or anything that can describe the URL. And here you need to mention the link of, or else you can mention address of URL. Okay. So let's try to add your Gmail, or let's try to insert the URL of Gmail. So for that, you can pass, I'm passing URL name as Gmail and you can pass the URL link. So I'm going to pass the URL link Gmail. So I have already, let's type it Gmail. So for that, we have a URL like https://mail.google.com. This is the URL to give a Gmail. So try to copy that URL and mention it in your parenthesis. Let's convert this cell into Markdown and try to run this. Okay, try to run this. Now you can observe, I'm going to mention it as a syntax. Now you can observe here the Gmail link is getting with respect to the name whatever you passed. Okay, it will automatically get a hand symbol when you place a cursor in the Gmail. When you place a cursor in this link. So when you click on this, click on that Gmail and it will automatically redirects to Google account. It will automatically redirects to Google account. Like this, you can insert your URLs. Come back to this again, try to insert again one more link. one more link. So I'm going to insert the URL link for Google cheat sheet. So we need to use it, right? Markdown cheat sheet. So I'm going to insert this link in Jupyter. So for that I'm using the name as Markdown cheat sheet link. This is my description link, and here inside the parenthesis I'm passing the Google cheat sheet link. So you need to copy the links. Don't type it. Try to copy the links and paste it in the parenthesis and try to run it. Now you will get, so after passing it, try to pass a space. Try to give one tab, make it as a new line so that you will don't get any confused. So now you can observe the first one is point out the Gmail link, and second the one is redirects to Markdown cheat sheet. So try to click on it. It will redirects to Markdown cheat sheet. Like this, you can insert your URLs. Had you all completed up to this? Are you all completed this inserting URLs? Or do you have any difficulties? Let me know. So if you want to insert a URLs, you need to follow the syntax like curly brace, a square bracket and then parenthesis. In the square bracket, you need to mention a URL name. Whatever the URL name you want to pass it, you can pass it. And after that, in the parenthesis, you can mention the URL link. And then you can run it. So it will rises like a name. Whatever you mention the name in the square bracket, that will appear. And when you make a cursor on that name, it will redirect to that URL. Like this. So here I am giving you one simple task. Try to insert your college or organization or company. College or company URL. Website URL. Try to insert your college or company website. This is the task for you. Try to do it and let me know if you are completed. Okay, good. So try to convert the cell into Markdown. Like this, you can insert your images as well as URLs also. And now next one is inserting tables or creating tables. Creating tables. So for creating tables, you can follow the syntax like a logical or symbol. And you can mention any kind of name. Whatever the table headings you want, you can pass it over there. And age and marks. I need to create a table like this. So I can pass like this. And you can separate this table with headings like this. Hyphens. You need to mention hyphens. And again hyphens. And now in the rows, you can pass it the data whatever you want to pass. Here I'm passing the name as Madhu and age as 25 and marks as 85. And I'm going to add new data again. Name as Priya and then age as 22 and marks as 67. And try to convert the cell into Markdown. Try to run it. So like this, it will create a table automatically. For this, the syntax is logical OR symbol. It is a logical OR symbol. In the backward slash, on the top of backward slash, you will get that logical OR symbol. And you can create a block quotes as well. creating a block of code. So for that, the syntax is you can pass a angular greater than angular brace, and you can mention any kind of text, and you can also insert sub block codes. For that, you can mention two greater than. You can pass any kind of random text. Again, you can mention sub block code, and you can pass any random text and try to convert this cell into markdown. Try to observe the difference. So it will automatically create a block code like this. Okay. So by passing the greater than symbol, you can create a block code, and you can insert the code as well in markdown format. So for that, you can mention a negation marks, and I can mention in between the negation marks, you can place the coding, whatever you have. I'm just mentioning coding as C. So here you can mention the code of C language. The first line is hash include stdio.h, and the next line is void main or int main, and inside this you can start your curly lower brackets, curly brace, and there you can mention the code. I'm just passing the code for displaying hello world, hello students, and you can mention semicolon at the ending, and try to convert this cell into markdown and try to run it. So it will, the entire is converted like as in a, the entire code is converted like as in a coding. So it will assign a kind of background color, a gray color for in the background. So I'm just making is a, here is a C. If you want to keep it, you can keep it. Otherwise, you can remove it. Like this, you can insert your block of code also by using markdown. Okay, am I clear up to this? How to inserting a block codes and how to inserting a code in markdown. So creating a block code means you can create a block code by passing the greater than symbol, and you can create nested block code also by passing nested blocks by passing greater than and number of greater than. How many you want, you can pass it, so that it will automatically create a block code like this. It will assign a block for every line, and inside this we are passing sub block code, and inside this again sub block code. Like this you can create a block code, and if you want to insert a code, here in the top make a heading, inserting a code in market. Okay, so inserting a code in a markdown, you can use a symbol like negation. Here it is a negation mark. In the beside one, from your in your keyboard, beside one there is a negation. So you can click a shift negation. Then you will get negation. The symbol is this one. This is the symbol to inserting a code. In between the symbols, you can pass the code. Whatever the code you have, you can pass it. These are all the symbols to inserting a code. Are you guys completed up to this? Respond me in the chat box. Inserting a code. I need responses. We have totally 200 and plus students, but I got only 10 to 20 responses. Why we need to So if you want to inserting a code as a code in Markdown, you can use negation symbols so that the entire coding is like only code. So it will follow a syntax for coding, right? Like semicolons or something. So it will not look like as a normal text. When you display code, you need to keep displays as a code manner only. You don't need to as a displaying like as a text. So that in such cases, you can pass negation mark by creating a markdown so that it will display like as a code only, and background there is a gray color. When you creating a code, it will assign automatically a background a gray color. So from my screen it will not up to the mark for you, but I'm getting I can observe it for your screens only. When you complete it, you will get observed. It will assign a gray color in the background for inserting a code. That is the purpose of negation. So like this, you can inserting your block codes and images, inserting URLs as well as inserting code. Okay, that's it about the today's class. If you have any doubts up to this, you can ask me. And tomorrow onwards, we can start the Python basics and we will continue some kind of operators, inbuilt operations, numbers, all these things. Okay. So up to this, if you have any doubts, you can stay back in the meeting. Otherwise, if you don't have any doubts, you can leave the meeting. Thank you all. Thank you, all.